Yes, greetings to the family, greetings one and all. Starting our live stream in a minute, just doing some things just behind the background. I'm gonna bring in my guest soon. Hopefully he can hear me. Hopefully everyone can hear me. That's good. He's giving me the thumbs up in the background. Hopefully everyone can hear me out there. I'm getting comments already, but I'm not sure where they're coming from. These comments Facebook page as well as on YouTube as well. So some people are watching, which is always a good thing. This is a series that we call KINGZ Talk, plural, KINGZ Talk. And this particular topic is about the role of Black male teachers in the classroom, and do Black boys need Black male teachers? Okay, and that's what I'm going to be discussing today, and I'm going to bring my guest on in a minute. And without any further ado, I'm going to bring my guest on, and I'll allow him to have a bit of introduction himself. My name is Dr. David Living Roots. For any of those who don't know me, who may be joining from some far out places, no matter where you are, I host David Roots TV. I'm also the founder of the King Alpha Productions. So you can find me on Instagram at the King Alpha Way. Okay, at the King Alpha Way. So that's where you can find me on Instagram. And we'll talk a bit more about what King Alpha is about. So let me bring you in, guests. Yes to the king, another king in the building. I think we're live now, brother. So we're in now. I can't hear you. Let me unmute your mic. Hold on a minute. My fault. Now I can hear you clear.
Okay, greetings, man.
Yeah, greetings
Greetings.
to you.
Yeah, bless.
Now, I want to say before we go forward with the topic. When I grew up with you, we came from the same country of birth, and we knew you as Kenya. So
Yeah,
I see you've evolved now, just like I'm Dr. David Living Roots.
right.
Tell the people how you would like to be known, and if there's any where they can find you on social media,
Right.
as well as, of course, I've introduced you in the description as the owner of VeganElectric, and it'll be good for you
Yes.
to say a bit about that as
Sure.
well.
Sure. Sure. Well, most people would know me as Kenya, and however, my middle name is Zacharias, and I basically started to go by that middle name after my father. He had changed his name from Jack to Kunya Nazembi.
Mm,
And so I basically started to use Zacharias more. It was him that gave me that name, that middle name, and it meant about Yahweh remembers. And that's the premise of that name. Also, he named me Zacharias after a great Arab scientist. And so, in honor of him, when he passed away, also I made sure to just use it a lot more often. So most people now will address me as Zacharias, while my first name is actually Kenya. Yeah,
got got
yeah,
you.
yeah. So
So in terms of me addressing you in this evolution,
mm,
which is it, Zacharias or Kenya? That
Zacharias is perfect. It's
Okay,
perfect.
and
Yeah,
that holds that actually, and we'd have to bring that up for another day in terms of the king reference and the spiritual and biblical. Beyond the biblical just gives a frame of reference, but
absolutely,
the foundation of what that actually stands for.
absolutely,
We
absolutely.
mentioned VeganElectric.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I started VeganElectric officially in 2016 in the UK. I had observed the work of Dr. Sebi, and I have, of course, previous knowledge. I mean, we've shared knowledge from when we were teenagers about plants and herbs and how you can make different herbal teas and things of that nature, just being outdoors in nature. But I really ramped up my understanding of the electric vegan, that premise and what that involved. Some foods conduct more electricity, and because they are genetically unmodified, they're as heirloom as possible. And that's where you get the full benefit as it was created by the creator. So I wanted to put out information on how people could get access to the lists, because back in that time you couldn't access the list really. Like, you might have a picture of it in your phone, but you'll be scrolling through all your pictures to try to find the Sabi list. Is this on the list? And so what I did was create an app, and I put up an app, and it had the list, so you could just download the app. It was for free. It was my contribution to the Black community. Well, my people, I shouldn't say just Black community, but my people.
Like-minded people.
Yeah, like-minded souls. And I didn't charge anything for the app. I paid for it myself to have it running, and I did that for about 2.5 years. That was my gift to the universe, where they could access it. I also put some ways in which you can make jackfruit taste however you want it to taste. I showed them how to take polenta and almost use it like how people would use tofu, because tofu, for some people, it presents a problem with estrogen abundance, especially for males. So the way in which it's created. So I was trying to give people different alternatives, recipes, and things of that nature. So that was VeganElectric in its infancy, and even now it's still more of an information hub. It's just that a lot of the information I provide right now is predominantly on CMOS at the moment. But I'm going back to it being an information source versus a retail outlet site, which it kind of is right now.
Well, and I don't want to go on the health topic for too long, because that will be a whole 10 hours.
Right.
But is this also, I know that you are a connoisseur as well as retailer of CMOS products.
Right.
Is this can they also find information about where they can get your products, your CMOS thing, on VeganElectric, or is that a whole different avenue?
Yeah, it's on VeganElectric still at the moment. I have another website. I haven't even released it yet, but it's exclusively CMOS. I think I confused my audience by, at 1 minute, I'm giving you like the ITIL way of eating. And then all of a sudden now it's basically a shop front. So I've confused my audience. And so I'm going back to it being a source for information, and have a completely separate outlet for health related stuff. It may be a feature that you may see on the website, but I want it to be more of an information clearing production company in that regard, back to its roots.
Let me I'm going to change the settings that I can see the comments that we're getting are coming from YouTube.
Okay.
And it means that the stream on Facebook is not public yet, but I think I just need to click this.
Okay.
I think I will put public, and now that's public, and hopefully we'll get some people that we actually know.
Right.
There's a few people in the chat who are dropping some strange things. I might have to block them on the
really?
YouTube,
wow.
chat. Yeah. Can you see the chat, by the way, the comments?
No. What I would do, I would just go to my YouTube and open it up.
I know you said.
Yeah, I'm on my phone, so I can't really see it. Let me do this real quick.
TV.
Okay, let me just do that.
Yeah.
I have you here.
So if the comments get a bit weird, I would just block that. So in terms, that's the introduction. Where can I go to find it? Should I just Google? I'm
VeganElectric.com.
going this. We're doing this live, but I'm going to upload it on the YouTube channel so
Yeah,
that people
sure.
can look back on this, and
I j-
hopefully they visit your channel. So how would they visit?
www.veganelectric.com.
Okay, perfect. All right. Um,
I was just
so
looking at the comments as well. Yeah. So,
you
okay.
can see what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you go on your Facebook, are you
Okay.
able to see the stream?
Yeah. Let me just split screen real quick. Hold on. Where is it to? Let me do this. I gotta open it first and go to David real quick. Hold on. Okay. And yes, I'm here. So if I do that, I'm just trying to see if I could split screen with it.
You
So
can. I'm just confirm for me that you can see it on Facebook.
I am currently seeing your front open banner.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's what I have up. So that's fine. So that
Yeah.
that lets me know that it is live and people can access it on Facebook, which is
Yeah.
good. So let's continue the conversation. So as a bit of background, I have started. I didn't even like to use the word started, but the King Alpha Productions is a brand that's focused on developing men, in particular, focused on the um, cultivation of men of African descent, melanated men in particular. And what it's related to is both a mindset
Hmm.
and a lifestyle. In other words, it's practical. And
Okay.
so, one of the most important aspects of this philosophy, this mindset, this community, this movement, is our primary role, which is to raise our children, you know, to reproduce. Well, both of myself and yourself, highly educated in the fields of natural science. And as we know, life is for the living,
Yes, sir.
one of the primary functions of life that the whole body is designed around in whatever species,
Hmm.
from lower order all the way up to the most complex, is the reproduction of that species um, to continue that lineage.
Yeah,
And so
it's
it's no
it's it's
different.
it's one of the most highest honors you can attain,
That's
and
right.
privilege to experience. Yeah.
That's right. And so, in terms of the young Black males, how we can promote the best and optimal ways for them is something that's very close to my heart. For those that may not know, I am, amongst many other things, my day job is as an educator. I teach science. In particular, my specialism is chemistry. And so, one of the big drivers of me being in a classroom setting was understanding the importance of young men in those classrooms of all ethnicities, but in particular of, African descent, Caribbean descent, Black and minority ethnic, as they say over here in London, for
Right.
me being in front of them, seeing something different.
Right.
And so that's the foundation, that's the basis of this discussion. Do Black boys need Black male teachers? And that's the intro as to where we're going to go. Now, I have 6 children, so 3 boys, 3 girls. So, in terms of me and my experience as a parent, I can add that in as well.
Right.
Um, I was asking you in our background chat if you had children yet, because I haven't met your children.
Yeah, yeah. So I have one son
Mm,
biologically, but
hmm.
I have adopted his brother as well. Um,
Nice.
my son's brother is an incredible kid and just really kind-hearted. He loves his little brother, and at the age of 12, I met him at the age of 6, and at the age of 12, when he became an adult, well, a young adult, I should say, I told him that I'm no longer buying you material items. I'm going to give you the gift that no one can pay for, and that's my attention. That's my name. That's, access to my legacy. And that's been our journey since he was 12 and he turned 16 May 26th. I'm really excited for my older son. So I call it two boys.
Powerful, powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
So and also you're speaking from a father's perspective, but you're also
Right.
speaking from an educator's perspective because you're now a teacher in the classroom as well, right?
Yes, yeah. I teach high school. I teach in the high schools and I teach Earth systems. So I'm excited about that, man. It's brilliant. I get to teach astronomy, geology,
Mm.
mineral science. I give them a little bit of physics, a little bit of chemistry, because everything is connected. Like when I talk about the convection cycle and how it's a repeating rhythm from the sun into the magma underneath the earth, and even with the nitrogen cycle, the water cycle, is this convection just keeps taking place. That that continuous flow, it's repeated in everything. And so, and I try to get them to understand the beauty when you look and you see mountain ranges and just what force took place to make that happen. So I love it, man. I'm excited about what I teach.
How long have you been in the classroom in this latest formal way?
So I've been there since August of last year officially. I signed on with Gwinnett.
Okay,
Yeah.
which is a county,
So
isn't it?
yeah, here in Atlanta, North
Yeah,
Atlanta. Yeah.
yeah. And what made you? Because I know your background, as you said, is in the sciences, in plants and agriculture and things like that.
Right.
What made you finally get into the classroom setting?
I I used to substitute teach. Prior to signing on full time, I substitute teached for about, I would say about a year and a half. So I was running my business here in Atlanta and substitute teaching on the odd days I wasn't as busy packaging CMOS, for example.
Hmm.
It was like a way to earn revenue. And I would specifically go to high school, number one, and the high schools that got the most notorious reputations. Because I said, instead of talking about the problem, I'm going to show up. Like I hate people just saying this is a lost generation and stuff like that. So I would go there, and from doing that, I got full exposure to the plight of the education system and the lack of representation by people that look like me.
For children that look like you as well, I would assume.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll give you a great example of it. I was teaching physics on a long-term assignment because sometimes substitutes you're just there for a day, but depending on your capacity, they could have you there for as much as 6 months as a substitute teacher, and they needed a substitute for physics, and I did it for I think 2 days, and they were like, "Oh, you know the subject matter." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it's not my wheelhouse, but I'm competent enough in it." And so they asked me to stay on for 4 months and teach the whole semester. At one point, I needed to step away for something personal, but there was a doctor of engineering, a retired white gentleman, that he called me and he says, "Listen, don't worry about this not being your subject matter. You are very good at communicating the concepts that we need for this subject. And in addition to that, he says, you are able to communicate to them in a way that I can't. He's like, I've got these 2 degrees, 2 doctorates, but you're able to communicate at a level with them that I just can't access.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing that from this guy that I respected, this engineer, and there's a lot of aerospace engineers in the area where I live and in this community. And he was like, you have a better understanding of how to deliver physics to them than I do.
Mm. Where do you think? That comes from? Because, as you say, he's highly qualified, and he's a teacher of experience. What was he really saying? What was that part of you can do it better? What is that?
I'll be honest, Doc. I didn't even really think of it like actually, I thought of it as his encouragement, number one. And number two, at the time, I thought of it as I can speak their language.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was really getting from that. I could speak their language. A lot of them, you got kids coming to school with straps right now. And I'm saying it in a ebonic way because I don't want people to be thinking I'm talking about, things of that nature. Or can I speak freely on here?
You can speak freely, yes,
Okay.
within reason, of course.
Okay, yeah. So
yourself and your livelihood as well as your presence.
So and this is not, let me put a disclaimer. I'm not just talking about the school that I work in. I won't mention the school where I work, but there are kids known to carry guns to school. There are kids that are known to sell drugs and use drugs in school, and so some of these schools you could be dealing with a gang member and they're in your classroom and they have very little fear, is what I noticed with this generation. I mean, and when I say fear, I'm not talking about the scared of you, but that reverence of you as the adult in the room. And so I think I have better classroom management ability and capacity for these young adults, possibly than some of my white counterparts. I really think so. Yeah, and I could get down on that level, and I could elevate them too to my level as well. And I think that's the convection cycle at work.
So that language that you
Yeah.
speak comes from probably in your estimation? I don't want to give my own answers at this point.
When you say
you said you speak that language.
Oh, I could break it down. In order to teach how to computate the parabolic curve. Well, this is me giving an example when I was teaching physics. I know I got a lot of young men that play American football. I'm here at night looking for relatable examples that I could give them that will teach them about telemetry and flight path and the curve and how to calculate it using this Desmos system, which is required. But I gave them this thing from the NFL. The NFL created this brilliant series on the projectiles and stuff like that, and was able to relate that in a way which they could understand. They love football, so I presented it with a football analogy, and it landed. It landed like a heavy plane, and I was really, really happy about it. Yeah,
it's coming from that shared experience. So let's get into the topic a bit more deeper.
Sure.
I had some statistics that I reserved
Okay.
to our discussion to give some context, because when you start to talk about ethnicity, sometimes people can feel separated from the conversation. So it's good
Right.
to give receipts and qualify why it's an important topic,
Sure.
away from just the anecdotal, what we see.
Right.
And so when I looked at some of the statistics, just pulling it up now, if you look at the ethnicity for the
Uh-huh.
UK, and you look at school teachers
Okay.
by ethnicity and gender, okay? And if I look at the largest group, of course, it's the UK.
Right.
The largest group is the female white
Okay.
teachers.
Okay.
Let's check this because they've got a lot of different, yeah. So the largest group is female white teachers,
Okay.
and then that's followed by
White males.
white males,
Yeah.
okay? And I'm looking at the school teacher workforce data from gov.uk.
Okay. Can I
And then when we,
can I guess who would come next? I'm just trying to
yeah,
guess.
let's see if you can guess.
Let's try
It's a UK context, by the way.
yes, I would say Asian.
That's, well, Indian, they have it down here. Indian.
Yeah, yeah. And I
An
would say it
Indian.
would be an Indian, and I think it would maybe be an Indian woman more than it would be
Yeah.
an Indian
Indian
man.
women. Indian women, correct. But when
Um,
we look at the black, and they have obviously many different ethnic categories in the UK.
right, right.
We have
Black
the,
Caribbean.
yeah, Black Caribbean, Black African.
Right.
They for the males, it's about 1%,
Really?
and females is less, is 0.8%.
Really?
That's right. And now some people might
Wow.
say, well, that's in regards to the ethnic makeup of the country. But when you look at the percentage of the population in the UK, 18% belong to the Black Asian mixed or other ethnic group, which they call BAME, Black over here. So the
Wow.
percentages don't actually meet the what's on the ground in
Distribution.
terms of the population, the
Wow.
distribution.
Never knew that. Never knew that.
When we look at the United States, and of course we could look at other places as well as far as context, because contextually we know, myself and yourself know that if you were in the Caribbean, then the numbers will be much different because you would have a lot of black teachers,
Mm-hmm.
teachers of African descent, but of course there will probably be mostly female teachers.
Female. Yeah.
Okay, and then if you were in the inner cities in the U.S., you probably have a higher diversity of my ethnic minority teachers, but
Yeah.
again, it'll probably be skewed towards female.
Female. Yeah.
Now, this data here for the United States that says that this is 2020 to 2021. It's from a Good Morning America story. I only use this one because it's the first one that came up.
Okay.
And it says black male teachers made up 1.3% of all
Wow.
teachers in K to 12, so that's kindergarten to grade 12 in that school year. And so that means, that the other, what's that, 99% are going to be obviously white teachers, and I suspect mostly white females. And in
Yeah.
the Asian men is much less, um,
Wow.
which is just 0.5% in the United States. So that's the context
Mm.
of what we're talking about. I'm gonna have to block some of these people. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this.
This is YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Okay.
So let me just do that right now. Some of the comments are just off the wall. Yeah. So yeah, that's the context of why I wanted to talk about this in regards to is it important to have black male teachers
Right.
in the classroom for, and I'm talking about not really just black students, but black male students in particular. I'm trying to dial right down
Yeah.
on that, and let us both look and share our experience. And I just gave the statistics. The statistics show
Hmm.
that the reality is that there is not that many black teachers,
Wow.
and that in regards to the gender makeup, there is, we know all of this already, but I just want to give statistics for any haters out there that, even in the
Right.
chat, you see some people saying, oh, why are you talking about ethnic this and ethnic that, blah, blah, blah. I suspect there's just some weird people
Yeah.
on
Got
YouTube.
got too much time.
Yeah. So that's the context.
Right.
Now, you already started to talk about it and said that, yes, basically, it seems like you're saying, yes, of course,
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's important to have black male
Absolutely.
teachers. And one of the things you said was that, one, a black male teacher can speak the language of black male boys.
Yeah.
And to paraphrase or kind of summarize what you were saying, it was because we have a shared experience that we can
Absolutely.
then draw parallels with some of the information that we're giving, like you gave the physics example.
Yeah.
And no, well, rather than talk about Newtonian physics in regards to a rocket ship, we can
Right.
do that, but let's first talk about it in regards to maybe a football, or a basketball, or
Right.
whatever. If we, in the Bermuda context where me and you hail from, we might use fishing during a fishing
Right.
line, a
Absolutely.
centrifugal and
Uh,
centripetal force, or whatever.
right.
So
Right.
I'm not trying to make it all sort of culturally stereotypical. Oh, only talk about sports. That's
Right.
not what we're saying. You're just saying
No.
that we can speak their language. So talk a
Right.
bit more about that before we progress the conversation.
Sure. And the other thing is like that they am being able to draw that parallel. I think is the way that you put it, is they look at me and my very presence in that room potentially could spark, this guy's educated.
Mm,
He how did he get there? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. I'm getting my pencil out because
Right.
I want to write the major points down.
Right. Like this guy's educated. And it sparks a curiosity. How did he get there? They observe you. They watch you. They watch how you walk in the room. They watch how you speak to them. They watch how you respond when they are looking for a certain type of response. Not only does it matter, so that representation, me, my physical presence alone in the building makes a difference.
Hmm.
Number two, I would say is this. I recently had an interaction where it was a real serious situation where it required assistant principals present, parents, counselors, all about the needs of this one individual. And the father, his demeanor was different because I was in the room.
Hmm.
They because they the understanding that I have is that he can be very confrontational and he is very intimidating. I get in the room, I say, hey, what's going on, brother? How you doing? I'm automatically change the tone in the room and let
Hmm.
him know, like, hey, I'm here to see this individual attain this goal. That's why we're
Are you
here.
saying the father had a tendency to be known for being confrontational, or the child?
Both.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And so the kid learns from his father a certain thing. And it's so interesting. Like the following day, one of the requirements of the child was to see me first thing in the morning. And I said to him, I said, I did not disclose every issue I have that we have in front of your father. I wasn't
Mhm.
sure how he would relay that information to you and what level of impact that would have on you.
Yes.
But man to man, this is the issue that we have. So, guess what I'm teaching this young gentleman? How to resolve conflict. And I have more skin in the game, if I could use like a term, a colloquialism,
Mm.
because that kid could have been me,
Right.
and so I have more grace um, for black young males. I have
Hmm.
more grace for them. I
Yes.
see them. I don't raise my voice to them at
Now,
all.
now hold on a minute. Now,
Okay.
one of the roles that I am privileged to have is as a mentor teacher. So I
Okay.
mentor other new teachers how to teach
Right.
and so on. And what you said just now was very profound in
Right.
its simplicity,
Right.
because you said, I see them. And I'm always talking to these new teachers who can come from various ethnic backgrounds, but
Right.
the school I teach in has a high, what we call catchment area of Black African
Okay.
Caribbean, Afro Caribbean
Okay.
students.
Right.
Okay, that's like 95% of the
Right.
students in a London, just out, just in a London sort of school.
Right.
And even though the catchment area is like that, the student makeup that we have is like that. The types of teachers we have can be diverse because everyone,
Sure.
wants to work. And one of the things that I get to mentor is about being intentional when they teach.
Absolutely.
So you're not just coming in to deliver in our case, science and just getting through some PowerPoint and making sure you want to get through this exam to, get to the exam, getting certain grades and whatever. It's why are you? I get them to reflect, and it's not an answer I can give them, but I
No.
get them to reflect on what is your intention when you go in to these classrooms and then you have these young
Absolutely.
people in front of you. What intentionally are you trying to do for them? And the next side to that is what you said. Do you see them? Because you can't be intentional about something
Hmm.
unless you truly see it.
Absolutely.
To use sports as a model, the greatest sports players in whatever sport we're talking about, we can use football, we can use basketball, football meaning soccer.
Hmm.
Um, the vision, that we say vision, is something completely different than
Right.
what the other average player is because they can
Absolutely.
see pictures
Yeah.
that other people cannot see.
Absolutely
And
correct.
so what you're saying is that when you in coming into that room with that young man, you were able to see pictures. Okay, I need to not say this, but I can say this. I'm going to address the dad like this, all sorts of different things. And
Absolutely.
another person who may not have that
Absolutely.
cultural capital may not do.
They may not have the culture capital, but they also may not care.
Yes, the skin in the game, as you say.
Yeah, I got that
Right.
skin. And
Mhm.
and I think like what you were saying, that's imperative for new teachers is this: know your purpose. Why are you here?
Mhm.
Why are you here? Like for me, I'll tell you this much, and this is for any black man that wants to become a teacher. This is this is thankless at times. You know, it's a thankless job. There are many times you're going to be like, because me as a man, I am a grower. I sow, I expect harvest. I have discipline. I can walk 15, 20 minutes and park my car in an area where I don't have to pay for parking and take that money that I save from paying for parking and put that in an investment account for my kid.
Yes.
I have discipline like that. And so when I approach these sorts of situations, I I expect a harvest, Dr. Roots. I'm expecting to see results. And there are some times I don't see the results right away. The same kid. It's been going on since last year. Has been bucking. And when I say bucking, like, you know, he played American football and he's a good size. And I think he wants to sometimes sniff test you, you
Mm-hmm.
know, on
Mm-hmm.
who's the man in the room. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, I don't have to beat my chest like a silverback to say I am a man.
Mm-hmm.
I try to do it with grace and humility. And even though one day I could say to him very sternly, this is, you need to leave, please. I don't
Mm-hmm.
raise my voice at him. I
Right.
don't carry on at him. And when he comes back the next day, or if he shows up the next day, I'm like, hey, man, it's good to see you. Can I talk to you for a second? I
Mm-hmm.
said, yesterday didn't go well, did it? I said, it's not just you that had a bad day. It was me that had a bad day because we weren't able to figure out how we could communicate and resolve the issue that we have. I don't like that. So let's try to avoid us having a situation where we can't resolve conflict and don't have unity in my classroom.
Powerful.
Yeah,
Powerful. I mean, myself, I've been teaching for just in this country for let's say 2014.
okay.
Seems longer than that, but obviously I taught in Bermuda for many years
Quite some
before
time.
that.
That's right.
So I've been teaching for a long time now.
Right.
I could say formally it was 2002 that I
Oh,
started in
wow.
Bermuda. So that's a good, what's that, 20 years now,
Yes, sir. 21.
20 years as a teacher.
Wow.
And through that time, that last particular role that you mentioned, which I don't think is separate to an ethnic particular role, that role of, I want to find the correct word, coach slash uh, teacher. And when I say teacher, in terms of, I don't want to use the word master, but I'm not talking about master and slave. I'm talking
Mhm.
about master like in the dojo, you
Yeah.
know, um, you know, other other languages will have better words for it,
Like a
like
seafood.
Walamu, seafood. There you go.
Yeah, Iman, yeah.
Who is respected, someone who's respected, and at the same time may need to be that defining rod that sets the corrective tone. And so you
Absolutely.
mentioned, and I'm saying that during my time as a teacher, I've had those, trust me, I've had those moments where you have that young, 14, 13, 14, 15, 16-year old who is in himself as a young stallion, a young champion growing
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
and
King, young
wants to
king.
prince and king and making, and wants to
Yes.
push buttons, and you have to stand firm to let him know this is the, you're not pushing this button.
Right,
Is there any one way of this with this button?
right.
So that's another particular role, and maybe that's the father role.
Yes,
That's the father side.
yes,
And on the flip side, from their perspective, from their vision, the reason a black male teacher may be more effective at that as that is that they may see you more easily as that father figure, as that uncle figure. In African culture, my wife, she's Nigerian, Jamaican background, and when you come to the UK in general, you meet so many more Africans, right? It's a lot of Africans,
yeah,
loosely to use that term, Africans over here. And Africans have a very respectful mannerism about their elders. And
yeah,
it's kind of infiltrated into all the communities. So, for example, young people will call people older than them uncle, you know,
yeah.
uncle and auntie, you know what I mean? So that role that you mentioned just now is also a very important aspect of why black male students of African descent benefit highly from having black male teachers in front of
Absolutely.
them, because they
Absolutely.
can, when that time comes that they may need to simmer down, as we'd say, to be corrected, to be
Right.
put in a place, that father figure can come and step in, that uncle figure can come and step in and
Absolutely.
say, no, this is how this is going to go. And there's no buts about it. This is how it's going to go. And
Right.
with love, sometimes tough love.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question for you, if you don't mind me asking.
Yes.
What caused you to become a teacher and
It's
not stick with the pure sciences? Because, like I know you as a competent scientist and a very uh, it would have been easy for you to kind of go down that path of research scientists. You could have, I think you were earmarked at one point to be the head conservation officer.
I applied for that. I didn't get the job.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't
Okay.
get that job.
Okay. Because
Jeremy Medeiros got that job.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I knew you were earmarked for it, and I thought you would have been an amazing, naturalist and stuff like that. So what caused you to make that pivot, from naturalist, research scientist, to, because it's two different paths. Had
Seemingly, it's two different paths, but for me, without going too deep into it, the turning point was similar to your turning point. That uh, my experience as a father being in Bermuda in the 2000s, that was the climate in Bermuda and from the America as well. And I'm sure it was in the UK, but we weren't in
right,
touch with the UK as much. That there
right,
was a lot of neighborhood gang um, warfare starting to rear its head.
right,
And for me, I was reading the news a lot about this whole concept of black male violence,
hmm,
on each other, black on black violence, and hearing at the crux of this, the center of this, the complaint that it was the dads, the absent dads. That was the narrative that was being pushed heavily, which obviously has some semblance of truth,
right.
but that was the narrative that was pushed
Wow.
heavily. And so for me, seeing that, and there was just like a point in my life where the experiences that I was also having as a parent kind of reflected the opposite, that now, I was well known for being like a very positive father to my children. And it
Right.
seems like these young people out there, these young black males, they need to have more black males around them.
Mm.
Dale Butler had written a book,
Oh, that's
the
a brilliant man.
successfully raising uh, Bermuda boys,
I'm
something like that. And
I'm
he
gonna
asked,
write that down because I
yeah,
didn't. That's something I need. I'm on a journey to collect more books, and I definitely want to get that. D- Dale Butler wrote
book
this.
was yes, Dale Butler wrote the book. That book
Uh huh.
was put together by different. He got different people that he felt. For example, he got Wayne and Dwayne Keynes' parents to write about how they felt parenting, what the best strategies were. He asked me to write. He asked different people who were successful fathers and parents or teachers to write about the factors
Hmm.
for successfully raising boys.
Yes.
And I wrote a little piece in that book. And from then, I went on to obviously write the Daddy and I Explore series,
Brilliant. Brilliant. Brilliant.
which
Brilliant.
was focused on countering that narrative of the absent fathers and showing fathers what they can do to spend time with the children and how easy it was, how free it was,
Yeah.
and so on. And
Yeah.
going into the school was just the next evolution, because I literally remember saying like, well, geez, I could do this. Let me just go into the school
Right.
and work with these these young men. Obviously, spiritually coming from a Rasta background and having examples of um, strong black male leadership
Right.
in front of me gave me that vision of what that aspiration would look like.
Right.
So it was about going into those places and sharing that vision. Because if you don't have a model, then you are not going to be able to have something to work towards. I want to stop at this point before you talk, go on, and just promote this as well, because that was my latest book, Don't Block His Brilliance, a handbook of top 10 principles to empower the brilliance of boys of African descent. So that was the latest one. I published this one in 2020. And it's along that same line, you know what I mean? The
Right.
same line of it's up to us to cultivate and nurture these young men and women, but in this case,
Right.
young men
Right.
um, in the classroom and as parents so they can reach their full potential.
Right. Can I
And so
tell you?
that's why I got into into teaching.
Can I tell you something? You know what was so fascinating to watch just now was your countenance began to glow
Mm,
as you were sharing um, your journey. You
yeah.
know,
Mm,
it just started to glow, and the reason I'm pointing that out is that I want to say that there's like this call, this that rings that says this is something that you should do. And I think when we say black men to go into the schools to teach black boys, they need to have principles.
hmm.
You know, like what you're saying about having the basis, the foundation of liberty and righteous or right with Jah living, you know, like that sets the framework for how you present yourself. You know what I mean? And so all of that needs to be taken into consideration if you're going to be a man that walks into this environment. Because there are some days where like the other day, I get to school at 10 to 6 in the morning.
Okay.
And I was just playing Fred Lux, man. You know, he has this song. It says, "I've got a joy
Mm, mm.
deep within my heart."
Turn.
Yeah, and so I would just be playing this, and so by the time they arrive in the room, I'm still got that meditation going on, and so you know, it's just a complete evolution through the day. Like they see me move and be a not just a black man, but a man, you know, in my frame, in my square. And I'm able to communicate to them. And I can joke with them. I'll be like, boy, don't try me today. You know, that kind of thing. We could have I set the culture that I want in my classroom. I
Yeah,
set the culture in my hallway. It's to the point now if a kid is acting up anywhere in the building, like I'm not going to have none of them young men intimidating any of the female teachers.
that's right.
We don't
Mm,
do that in this block.
mm, mm.
So you can send him, he can come hang out with me. The bad kids or quote unquote bad kids,
Yes, yeah,
before the day even starts, I'm like, Brethren, stay out of trouble today, all right? I don't want to
yeah.
see you on no list saying that you got in school suspension, all right,
Mm,
fam?
mm. So being that you come from obviously Caribbean foundation
Right.
and obviously you've spent a lot of time in the States,
Hmm.
how do they decipher that code in terms of, you know, because I can see in my mind, I can see you speaking to them like that, like, you know, look,
Some,
Adrian, you know, and obviously some as well, but I know you'll probably also switch back to how do they, or is there a strong Caribbean population there, or they do their children have Caribbean roots, Some of them, or are they mostly American roots? How does that go?
Mostly American roots. I would say the demographic for me is probably like 60% to 70% Black Americans. Um, I have a lot of boys, young men in my classroom, and then I will have like Asians. And when I say Asians in this regard, we're talking about Vietnamese,
Okay.
Cambodian, that Thai, you know,
Mm.
Korean. I'll have maybe like about 2% of that. Ethiopian and Eritrean, I have a good population of that, and then finally Latino,
Right, right.
Hispaniola, and so um, I find the people that love it the most is the Latino community. When I say brethren, no, they be like brethren, you know what I mean? So they
Yes,
kind of they really love it, the
yeah, it
Latinos, because
resonates.
they're closely related to us.
Yes,
Dominican Republic,
of course.
Guatemala,
Yes,
Nicaragua, El
yes,
Salvador, they're all
yes,
close, so they get it.
yes.
Yeah,
As
they-
we approach the zenith of this talk, because I'm keen to not make these talks last too
right.
long. Just for those people that may just be that have hung on this long, when in the replay, or may at some point join us in the live discussion. This is King's Talk. I'm Dr. David Roots. I have my guest, Brother King Zechariahas Francis, and we're talking about the topic of, do Black boys need Black male teachers?
Yeah,
And we're both coming from an educator background as well as a father background, and we're covering these points. I'm going to summarize what I've taken from your discussion so far
sure.
about some of the main factors
Okay.
that you feel you've drawn out of why it's important to have Black males in the classroom. And by the way, if the Black male is important to have as instructional leaders, aka teachers in the classroom, then surely it could be said that having Black males in schools in general, and then by extension in school boards, in school, at the district level, so on and so on, principal headships,
Absolutely.
is even more magnified. Even more magnified.
Representation
And we'll finish.
matters.
Let's finish. Let's hold that, and we'll finish on that point.
Yeah.
So the 5 things that I wrote down were that we speak their language.
Yes.
And by the language, we meant we have a shared experience.
Yeah.
So we can identify and then know how to communicate it back so that they are able to pick it up, whether that's subject related in the
Right.
concept that we're teaching,
Right.
or whether it's in a pastoral issue,
Right.
some sort of social issue. Number
Right.
2 was, you mentioned, was we act as role models,
Yeah.
aspirational role models. So
Yeah.
when they see us, they see themselves and they see possibilities.
Right.
And that was important as well. Number 3 was we act as advocates, but we're advocates that have skin in the game. We're
Yeah.
not just neutral. We're advocates because we see these young men as brothers, as sons, as family, as part of the community. Whatever level we draw it at, we have some connection with them beyond just, oh, we're teachers and we have a pastoral care.
Right.
And I'll say here that in no way am I saying, because I know myself and yourself, we've had great teachers from all different backgrounds.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't take, a teacher to be of your same ethnicity to care about you and to be a great teacher. That's
Right.
for sure.
That's correct.
Number 4 was, when teaching is part of your vocation, as you said, there's a calling that you get and you enter into this vocation. It then becomes about the sower and the harvest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for us, it's not just our job is we're planting seeds that we expect to grow into
Absolutely.
something much, 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 much bigger.
Absolutely.
And that was a powerful thing as well. And then finally, number five, it just coincidentally happens to link into what I want to end on was leadership. That we act as leaders
Yeah.
because you mentioned now you've established yourself, like you've kind of planted your flag, like, look, this is my classroom, this
Right.
is my hallway. In fact, you know what, this is my school,
Right.
so there's certain standards and principles you are going to, enforce that as a leader. And so those are the
Absolutely.
5 points. I didn't even think you realized that the points came out that way, but those are the 5 points of what we can draw from,
Yeah.
you know, of
Yeah.
why having these black male teachers. And I'm sure there's more. Hopefully, people who are watching this on the replay, they leave some comments in
Yeah.
YouTube on why they feel or don't feel that having black male teachers is important. And we present the statistics on the reality. But let's finish on that point of the teacher being at a certain level of in the education system,
Mhm.
and how then if those 5 points are relevant in the classroom level, at the classroom level, how powerful then and how significant it is to have teachers, sorry, black males enter into leadership roles, particularly at what we call the headship level over here,
Right.
principal, head teacher level,
Right.
principal level, and
Right.
possibly even beyond. What's your final thoughts on that?
I think I think if they have this skill set and also the vision, they can create an incredible culture within that school district, and in that community. Um, Schools, even the physical school, is an extension of the community. You want to know what a community looks like? Go check out the schools in that community. If I was a visitor to a particular area, um, two things I would check out is the schools and what kind of TV people are watching. It's culture,
Mm, mm.
and culture is what dictates who people are and how they identify. And I think when you have like let's give I'll give you a prime example. Barclay Institute in Bermuda. When you say that, their culture was about being an institution of higher learning. Like it was so, it was deemed so special and so unique, right? My mother, she put for my first, second, and third choice, she put Berkeley Institute, Berkeley Institute, Berkeley
It was
Institute.
it was no
There
other
was no
choice.
other option.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so the culture that they created there of this higher than saying secondary or this school or that or ward sec or this, like people were traveling from Somerset, but in the countryside to come to Berkeley Institute. So the culture
Hmm.
was there. And then when you look like at some of its larger than life figures, Mr. Smith, even Maxwell to some degree, Bobby Horton, I'm thinking Mr. Stovall, the art teacher. I'm trying to think of the biology teacher's name, the light skinned fella. What was his name? Furbit? Was it Mr.
Hmm.
Furbit?
Are
You know,
you talking about Glenn Fabler?
Fubler, that's right. Thank
Hmm.
you. Thank you. Thank you. And so this school, it just had these really interesting figures there, and the culture was there. So you can make a big difference, and I think representation matters. You know, I want to give you this before we get any further, but I did some research, and it was a study published in the Journal of Educational Research found that black male students who had at least one black male teacher in elementary school were significantly more likely to graduate high school and enroll in college. The study used data from the Tennessee Star Project, which is here in Tennessee, which was a large-scale random experiment that took place in the 1980s. They analyzed data from over 10,000 students who had been randomly assigned to different classes in kindergarten through third grade. They found that black male students who had at least one black male teacher during those years were 18% more likely to express an interest in college and 10% more likely to enroll in college than black male students who only had white female teachers during those years.
That's right. So the research supports the thesis, the hypothesis
Yes,
that
sir.
having black male teachers
Yeah,
is a benefit academically,
yeah,
aspirationally academically
yeah.
for black male students. And what I think we've been able to talk about is that because research has its limits, there's certain things that can't be quantified and
That's
qualified
true.
sometimes. And I think we've been able to show that beyond just that, which you just gave a summary research about, conclusive research, and there's many more because I've also looked it up as well.
Right. I was like, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like,
That
wow.
there are other more hidden benefits to having black
Yeah,
male teachers and leaders in the
absolutely.
education system, in the education paradigm, than what may be able to be shown on that. I thank you for coming on and onto King's Talk.
Yes,
The
sir.
whole concept, as I said, just to repeat, is to develop and promote both mindset slash philosophy,
Mm,
as well as a practical aspect involving lifestyle, practical lifestyle
absolutely.
that moves men towards being a best self, which I
Absolutely.
call the king self.
Yeah.
And I'm encapsulating that in this movement, in this concept called the King Alpha Way. And people can find me and find about the King Alpha Way on Instagram at the King Alpha Way. And obviously I'm on Facebook. People will know as Dr. as Living Roots. So where can they find you again?
It will be www.veganelectric.com. I believe Instagram, it should be Zechariahas Francis on Instagram, Zacharias.Francis. But you can definitely find me at Vegan Electric on Instagram, Facebook, and on the website.
And on the website. And
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
going to talk again.
absolutely.
I'm hoping to have more guests. I will be having. I've already lined up a few guests for the next couple of weeks on
Right.
this series to focus on this. But obviously, we can talk more on
Oh,
many other
so
aspects
many topics, man.
relating to the idea of not the idea
The
of the
King
king,
Alpha Way.
the
Yeah,
king
I
alpha
love
way.
it. I
That's
love
right.
it. I'm actually about to start my training
Mm,
based on what I've been seeing. You've been putting in some work, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. The eye
very
is
important.
the eye is right, man,
Very
and
important.
so I've been boiling up my roots tea and to do the detox and stuff like that. So yeah, we definitely have so much to talk about going forward. Salute to you, my friend, and really it was brilliant, and I'm really proud of you. I know you don't like the platitudes very much, but I'm really proud of you, and thank you for being a solid brother. Like even the thing that you did at the book. Do you know when my son was born, I was the first man to hold him.
Hmm.
I didn't let nobody touch my son. Only my hands were the first, right?
Mm, mm,
And um, and I held
mm.
him, and then they could cut him, And as I held him, I walked away from everybody and turned my back, and I raised him to the Most High, and I said, "Give thanks, grant me the wisdom to be the man that I'm supposed to be for this youth
Powerful,
right here." Yeah,
powerful.
man, I'll take that kid and lay him in the grass when he was a toddler and let him pull at the blades of grass. And I would get
Mm,
mint, I would get basil, sweet basil, and I'll make him
mm, mm.
smell it and
Yes.
so forth, and arouse his senses and stuff like that. I'll snap over here and clap over here to get him
Mm.
to look and exercise. Bro, I'll tell you, I learned a lot from you, man,
You
about
you're going into the
the
to
higher
the
levels.
no, well, the levels of raising
Yeah,
kings.
yeah,
That's what you're talking about, the
yeah,
raising
it's
of them,
higher
and which
level.
is going to be, obviously a foundational important part as well.
Yeah,
And I talk about that in my book.
yeah. It's brilliant.
It's
It's
brilliant.
beautiful stuff. Like, and when you see how the kid responds to the way in which you stimulate their mind, it's glorious, man. And they look at you with wonder, and you feel it. Um,
Completely,
yeah, so I'm
completely.
looking forward to us having more chats and some other stuff that I'm actually planning on doing for my kids. But you know, I'm loving it, and we'll catch up.
Okay. Respect,
Salute.
Habibi,
Yeah.
I've learned to say, and we will catch up again. Just hold on. I'm going to end the broadcast and we can catch up off camera. Give
Okay.
thanks to any who's watched
Yeah.
live as
Salute.
well as who may watch
Salute.
on the replay. Please like and subscribe.
Yeah.